What's up, guys? You know what time it is. Another series. The Book of John breakdown. Let's just get straight into this one. This one's going to be a good one. Jesus feeds the 5,000. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of the Galilee. That is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up to the mountain and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, and how far will they go among so many?" Okay, so do you guys catch this? Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. A boy. Here is a boy. So here is a kid with the food. Jesus offered. So Jesus took the offering from the kid and gave thanks, because it was not in vain Jesus could work with the miracles of everyone, but the reason why it was a little boy who gave the fish and the bread to Jesus to multiply it is because he said, in order to get into the kingdom of heaven, you must be like this one. This boy only had 5 small loaves and 2 small fish, but he still gave it to Jesus. He still said, "Here, Jesus, I don't know what you're going to do with this." But the little one still trusted in Jesus. We're supposed to be like this child. And also it shows the innocence, the purity of the kid. Everyone else, his closest friend, said, "Jesus, I don't know. We don't have enough." They go, "But here's a boy. He has a couple." The little boy gives it to him. So when we give Jesus our problems, it's saying, the reason why the little boy gave Jesus only a couple loaves and 2 fishes is because when we give Jesus our problems, it's saying you have to be like this little kid. You have to be like the child when you give the loaf. You have to be like the child when you give the fish. And you have to have faith like the child. You have to just let Jesus work, that it will multiply. Right? Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. So he gave thanks. Thanksgiving is the key to manifestation. Everyone's like, "Oh, I want to manifest. Manifestation is prayer with active imagination and thanksgiving. Being thankful is what carried Jesus to do this. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley leaves left over by those who had eaten. So 12, guys, is also a symbolic number here. It's 12, 12 disciples. So he's saying, for each of my disciples, there will be enough for all of you to eat. The bread was his body, and he gave 12 pieces to the people. 12 to his disciples left over, and he's saying, "This is my bread. This is my body. Each of you guys get a piece. There's enough of me to go around for everyone," symbolizing that his death is universal. His death is for everyone. There's enough salvation for everyone to eat. This simply represents his salvation. This simply represents bringing the dead to life. Where there's nothing, there will be a miracle. And he's saying, there's enough for everyone to eat. Only they were like, God, but not everyone's going to eat. He said, there is enough for everyone to eat. At first, back then, it was certain people, all certain sacrifices bring you to heaven. No, now it's Jesus saying, no, everyone could eat. There's enough bread to go around for everyone. No one will go hungry. Jesus walks on water. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they got into the boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. By now it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I. Do not be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were healing. So, why is it so important that Jesus walked on water? What does water symbolize? Water symbolizes rebirth. When Noah's Ark came down, how did God cleanse the world? Water. When John was baptizing everyone and Jesus was baptizing, how did we all get baptized? Through water and spirit. Jesus is saying he is the water. Jesus is saying, this water, I am above it now. I am the way of life. I am the salvation. I am the baptizer. The water, I am the truth. I am the cleanser. That's why he was on top of the water, symbolizing he's on top of, he is what cleanses us now. You know what I mean? The next day, the crowd that had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake realized that only one boat had been there, and that had not entered it with his disciples, but they had gone away alone. Then some boats from the Tiberias, landed near the place where the people had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and went to Capernaum in search for Jesus. Jesus, the bread of life. Damn, we got a lot. Oh, man. Sorry, guys. I'm just so tired. I'm, really trying to lock in. Okay. How crazy do I look? I look pretty crazy. Get rid of that. Oh, shit. I dreamed of the shit of a shawty. Sorry, guys. Okay. A little break. Okay, guys, ready? When they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, "Rabbi, when did you get here?" Jesus answered, "Very truly I tell you, you are looking for me not because you saw signs I performed, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For on him God the Father has placed his seal of approval." So, basically it's kind of self-explanatory here, but I'll just go over it. He's saying that they didn't go to Jesus because they saw the signs and miracles. No, they went to Jesus because they had fed them. He had fed them and their stomachs were full. But if they were to go hungry, if they didn't eat that day, none of them would have been with him. They saw the miracles. None of them were really amazed by the miracles. But they were full. They only went to Jesus because he had... it's almost like when you give a homeless guy money and he comes to you again, he knows where you are. Let's say you work at a certain store, he comes to your store and you give him money. He's not coming to you because you give him nice words. No, he's coming to you because you give him money. You know what I mean? So Jesus was hurt because he knows. He knows the heart of these people. Then they asked him, "What must we do to the works God requires?" Jesus answered, "The work of God is this, to believe in the one he sent." To believe in Jesus is going to be harder than doing good. It's easier to give a homeless guy a couple dollars than it is to believe in Jesus. Why? Because it requires in believing in the things that are not seen. Do you know how hard it is to believe in the things that are not seen? You're literally putting your soul, your will, your faith, your heart, your mind, your joy, your depression, everything, in the things that are not seen. So the work of God is believing the one he sent, because that's work itself. Building up enough faith to go like this, to jump off a tower in hopes that he will catch you. It's much easier to give a homeless man than to jump off a tower and believe that Jesus will catch you. You know what I mean? Metaphor, guys. Don't jump off a tower. So they asked him, what sign then? These guys only wanted signs. So they asked him, what sign will you give that we may see it and believe you? What will you do? Our ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Jesus said to them, verily, truly, I tell you, it is not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. The bread of God is the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. The bread of the world is Jesus. And they go, sir, they said, always give us this bread. Now they're starting to understand. They're starting to get it. Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never thirst, spiritually and physically, right? But as I told you, you have seen me and still not believe. All those the Father gives me will come to me, but whoever comes to me I will never drive away. For I have come down from heaven not to do my will, but to do the will of the one who sent me. And so that's when he says, let thy will be done. Thy will that will be done is always self-sacrificing, guys. How do you know if it's God's will if you're putting others first, right? And this is the will of the one who sent me, that I shall lose none of all those who has given me, but raise them up at the last day. For my Father's will, that is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise them up at the last day. At this, the Jews there began to grumble about him, because he said, I am the bread that had come down from heaven. They said, is this not Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How can he say, I came down from heaven? Stop grumbling among yourselves, Jesus answered. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them. So no one could go to Jesus unless the Father has called them to it. That's why a lot of people walk past Jesus, because these people don't have the communication with God. They don't really know the true God. So how are they going to want to know the living God if they don't want to hear the voice of God, if they don't want to listen to it? You know what I mean? It is written in the prophets. Reason of the last day. It is written in the prophets. They will all be taught by God. So they will all be taught by God. Everyone who heard the Father and learned from him comes to me. So it is written from the prophets, they will all be taught by God. It's literally saying Jesus is God. He's claiming to be God. Everyone who has heard the Father and learned from him comes to me. No one has seen the Father except the one who is from God. Only he's seen the Father. So the Father is the spiritual, the one that is unseen. But then he goes, very truly I tell you, the one who believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. So he's basically saying, you have not seen the God who is God in heaven, but he is saying that he is, hold on, let me read it again, because this is kind of a little tricky. No one has seen the Father except the one who is from God. He has seen the Father. Yeah, the Father. So remember, the Son is the Father in human form. They've seen the Son. They've seen the physical glory of the Father, but they haven't seen the spiritual glory. Jesus was with the Father since the beginning of time. So only Jesus has seen the Father in its whole glory, in its whole form. You know what I mean? Sorry, it took me a second to break that down. It was kind of tough. I am the bread of life. Your ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness, yet they died. Because he told Philip, Philip was like, why don't you show us God? He goes, don't you know me, Philip? He's saying, Philip, don't you know I'm God? Don't you know I'm here? It was actually kind of a sad line. It just was because he was like, Philip, I thought you knew me. This, like, you don't know me? But yeah, we'll just confirm he is God. Very truly I tell you, the one who believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. Your ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness, yet they died. But here is the bread that comes down from heaven, which anyone may eat and not die. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever. The bread is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. They didn't really understand. They're like, why are you comparing yourself to a burger bun? Because they're stupid. When the Jews began to argue sharply among themselves, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Now they're thinking he's cannibal. They're so stupid. Dude, reading this kind of pisses me off because you realize how stupid they are. Like, dude, pencils oddly smell good. Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son and drink his blood, communion as well, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise them up at the last day. For my flesh is real food, and my blood is real drink. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in them. Just as the living Father who sent me and I live because of the Father. So the one who feeds on me will live because of me. This is the bread that came down from heaven. Your ancestors ate the manna and died. But whoever feeds on this bread will live forever. He said this while teaching the synagogue of Capernaum. So what is the bread of life? And what is the wine? I could say communion, which it is. Communion is. Communion is a representation. Because you remember when Jesus gave him the bread and the wine. That's the communion. But the true salvation, communion doesn't really get us into heaven because you could take communion and not believe. The true bread, the true wine, right? I'm not saying go do communion. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying, but the true bread, the true wine is everything you do is a living sacrifice for God. The food you eat, the water you drink, the prayers you do, the thoughts you think, dying for Christ. That's to eat his bread, to drink his wine. Everything you do in the physical, dedicate it to him. You know? Many disciples desert Jesus. On hearing it, many of his disciples said, this is a hard teaching. Who can accept it? Who can accept that some people may not get into the kingdom? They want to hear everyone will get into the kingdom of heaven. Everyone will. But it's as simple as this. If you're not living with God now, what do you expect in the afterlife? Aware that his disciples were grumbling about this, Jesus said to them, does this offend you? Then what if you see the Son of Man ascend to where he was before? The Spirit gives life. The flesh counts for nothing. So he's saying, I'm here to give you guys Spirit. What if I just win? What if I left? The Spirit gives life. You guys need the Spirit. I could leave and then no one will get to heaven. Hey, this is like, I'm going to pick or choose, you know what I mean? The words I have spoken to you, they're full of spirit and life. Yet there are some of you who do not believe. For Jesus had known from the beginning which of them did not believe, and who would betray him. He went to say, this is why I told you that no one can come to me unless the Father has enabled him. Sorry, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so God literally let Jesus, so don't think that Judas snuffed one under Jesus. No, God let this all play out. So remember, guys, God knows how it's all going to happen, but it works for the greater good, right? For this time, many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. You do not want to leave too, do you? Jesus asked the 12. Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? So he's saying, where would I leave? What am I going to trade? What am I going to trade for eternal life? You have the words of the eternal life. We have come to believe and to know that you are the Holy One of God. Then Jesus replied, Have I not chosen you, the 12? Yet one of you is the devil. He meant Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, who, though one of the 12, was later to betray him. The reason why Jesus made it clear to the disciples, one of you is the devil, because when he dies, he needed everyone to see how compassionate he was. He needed everyone to go, oh my God, like he was right. He did know that who the devil was. He did know there was a devil among us. But he still chose us. That's why Jesus said, I always wondered, why did he mention that one of them is the devil? What was the point of this? Because he needed everyone to know, yes, guys, I know one of you will betray me, and I'm aware of it, but I still love you anyways. He made it clear that he knew it all. So when he died, we could never say, well, he wasn't. No, he was always aware. That's just how much he loved us. So the meaning of the story is, guys, you cannot get into heaven without Jesus. Oh. Sorry, guys. I have a guest. All right, guys, that was it. I love you all. See you in the next breakdown.